Hi there. My name is Avil Beckford. And as most of you know by now, most of the people who come on this podcast, I have some prior relationship with them. So this week, we have a fun guest. Her name is Siera Sambrosky. And get a load of this. I still cannot even get over it. She is an evolution alchemist and an action sage. How cool is that? Over to you, Siera.
Well, thank you so much for having me here, Avil. Um, I wanted to talk to everybody about something that every one of us has as a problem at some point or another, and it's struggle. We all have found ourselves in some sort of place where we are struggling with something, whether it's internal or external at some point in our lives. And most people are looking for a way to make that process easier. And so the first thing that I have to offer up as part of the way to move through that struggle and make it easier is acknowledge. So many of us often are going to try and just keep pushing forward, or maybe we have some guilt or shame around our struggle. And so we're not even acknowledging that it's real. We make up judgments and comparisons to others and think this shouldn't be a big deal for me, or my struggle isn't as real as somebody else's. But the important thing for you really is to fully acknowledge it. Because as long as we're suppressing that part of what our experiences is in the moment, then you are only going to find yourself in a holding pattern and staying in that struggle even longer. And that's definitely not what we want to do, right? The next piece of this process of getting ourselves through the struggle is very much related. It's around acceptance. Sometimes we can find ourselves in these places, and sometimes it's a repeating pattern. So we can keep lamenting and looking back at all the ways that we keep finding ourselves here. Well, that is not being in a place of acceptance. And so the idea around acceptance is not that you have to say, oh, this is so great, because we've all been in places of struggle, particularly if it's been a long one. And we're saying, I don't want one more person to tell me, I'm sure there's a good reason for this, or I'm sure there's some good that's going to come from this, right? That's not a helpful place of acceptance, especially at the beginning of it. But acceptance is just to stop staying in the feeling that this is always happening to me. Instead, it's saying it's happened and now I need to move forward. So, how do you keep getting yourself into this place where it's just a matter of habit? You have to keep monitoring and keeping awareness around the idea of monitoring our own thoughts and what we're saying out loud about our situation. And so when you recognize it, again, no judgment, no criticism or comparison for ourselves, just say, okay, that's not being accepting of the situation. This is where I am right now, but I am moving forward today. So it just becomes a repeating of constantly, sometimes it can feel like constantly reminding ourselves to be in acceptance of our situation. The next piece is appreciation. If you can find any tiny piece of appreciation for it, this also helps to move us through it and make it a lot easier. And the reality of the situation is that for me personally, I've had times where the only thing that I could find appreciation was that I had actually grown in the process of being able to ask for help and support, or to be able to receive help and support. It doesn't have to be a grand thing around appreciation, but just a little bit of the appreciation will go a long way. It helps to move us through. It helps to pick up the energy and get us going in a different direction again. And the last piece that I really wanted to bring through is the process for being able to move through a struggle in our lives is the idea around resilience. And so many of us think that resilience is about persistence, that it's getting back up and moving back forward again. But I want to present the idea that part of the resilience that is so important for helping us to move through struggle and actually get something out of it comes in the rest part of resilience. Resilience is more than saying, I'm going to muster through this. Resilience is actually around allowing yourself to go into a place of rest and really have what is happening, all the energies, all that you are learning, all that you all are experiencing, all that you are feeling around it, and find some rest in it. That's how we actually find the resilience. We can't find resilience without finding the space and the time to take some rest. So that's really the final piece to being able to help yourself move through struggle.
I love it. I love it. As you were talking and I was listening, it just made so much sense. The progression, of acknowledging it. Because a lot of times we want to push it under the carpet because we don't want to deal with it right now. And, acknowledging it, moving forward, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
The rest piece was a little bit surprising. But when you think about, because so many people are talking about resilience, right?
Yeah.
So the rest piece makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I know. I think there's a little bit of confusion sometimes around resilience being like, just means that I just push myself through anything and all the things. But that only leads to exhaustion and burnout and more overwhelm. So if we don't calculate in the rest piece of the resilience process, you can't actually build resilience if you don't then give yourself some time to rest. So I like to
Thank
highlight.
you so much. This
You're
has been
welcome.
so good.
Thank you for having me. This has been good.